Yabba double deal double double deal double deal doodle double 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 do.
I followed Arsenal or I supported Arsenal because you were an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, but that was passive supporting. That was like you're a +1 fan till that. But when you got into it last year is when you went from being I support Arsenal because my husband likes Arsenal to now actually giving a shit about it yourself.
Over the last 2 years, sad as it may be, considering it was one of Arsenal's best years after a long time.
You could, you're in danger of being called a plastic Arsenal fan, jumping on the success. But it's okay, I put in the hard work for both of us, so it's all right, I think.
I'm okay. I'm ready to take the hit on being called a plastic fan because I'm still coming to terms with the fact that I am a fan or that I know enough about the game or the team to say I'm a fan.
And hey, look at how far you come. You're able to hold a decent, but you're able to hold a decent conversation about, especially Premier League stuff, for sure. But maybe nuances of other teams. Maybe that's something you're yet to, explore and stuff. And obviously, like I can see very clearly, especially over the last 1 year, how you're able to now appreciate nuance of football play. You like some players more than others. Automatically, suddenly, your opinions are becoming more diverse, more in-depth. You're able to tell when things aren't working. Maybe you're not able to tell in as much detail as maybe why it's not working. But you're able to tell that, it's not working, you need to try something different. Maybe he should try this, And
a lot of it, I think, stems from the fact that this is not just, you're not just a fan of football, right? And I think maybe the knowledge that I have right now would pass as good enough knowledge to have as a new fan. But I feel the pressure of wanting and needing to know more because your entire life is about football. And just to give some context to our future listeners, Siddharth is a football coach, and that's what makes this is a very unique relationship, a very unique household. I don't know a lot of people whose partners do what he does. It's so refreshing to be with somebody who's literally carving out their own path in an otherwise not evolved industry, and also to see that this is his entire life. This is not just a passion as an amateur player or passion as a fan who's been watching it since he was 5. It's what he does. It's what we are investing in towards the future of him hopefully changing the landscape of how this game is played. I see you as somebody who will be the first on the scene or one of the first few people on the scene to bring in this highly analytical, highly data-oriented, but also with a lot of skill and perfection and the art component of the game that you talk about, and what we
which is very interesting that you bring it up, is because see, that's been my football reality, and that's how I've grown to see the game. And it's something that I'm seeing you also take on board. Let's say I was just a casual viewer of the sport. I would not have maybe the passion would not be there, maybe the insight would not be there, and that wouldn't leave you feeling or my passion would not be as infectious as it is the way it is right now. And more importantly, like the opinions you pick up or the kind of football you appreciate or the little details that maybe get you a bit excited or resonate with you in whatever capacity, those are also kind of influenced by me because I see it in a very, specific way, in a very, very, particular way. Pretty much consume football the same way you had for those 6 years. What changed in the last 2 years? What did you see that made you, just want to catch on? What made you feel a little left out?
I think, you know what it was?
What?
It was
Mikel Arteta.
It was nothing related to you.
That's great.
Okay, there was nothing actually related to you. It was Arteta, and it was specifically the All or Nothing documentary on Netflix about Arsenal. And I remember you being like, okay, just watch it. I think you love it. And I just got into it and I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to watch an episode and I'm going to commit to it. And I watched it, and I don't know, I think everything that you had been saying or talking to me about with respect to your work, it sort of started making some sense. And I had heard those terms from you before, but not really understood, or I was just the listening board for you. But I was not really absorbing anything, right? Like I was just being a good listener. And I guess that's when I got started. And it's just great that Arsenal had the year.
No, it's I'm gonna put out any potential disgruntled trolls on the internet saying, you hopped on the bandwagon little late.
First of all, it's very ambitious for you to think that we will have trolls.
Just you know what I mean.
We'll have 5.
Anyone, any disgruntled fans, even from the 5, even if one of them. But the point is that, see, when you were watching All or Nothing, you weren't watching football live. You were watching a docu-series that was made about the previous season.
Yeah, which was shit.
Awesome. Which was really shit. So it's really interesting, essentially, that what got you going was, yes, an overly dramatized capturing of possibly Arsenal's lowest point in the last 30, 40, 50 years, man. Like, really. And what you saw there was essentially, what Amazon portrayed as one man trying to pick up this club from the trenches of, or the abyss of, desperation, and lift them towards the heights these lofty heights that they used to have. And all while withholding the same ideals. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you've lived with me as an ardent Arsenal fan. You know that, like, values of this, like, very noble pursuit of, like, oh, we're doing something bigger than us, or we're doing something beautiful. All these values also very, very much hit home with you in a very, very raw part of your heart, maybe somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was this one episode where Arteta calls upon the photographer of the club, the official photographer of the club, and he has him
give the pre-match speech.
Give the pre-match speech. And I just want to point out that, for me, the reality that I live is that Siddharth writes his pre-match speeches at home, and sometimes I have the honor of going through them and reading them, and I never really thought it. I actually never really thought it was an important thing, or it was something that, even when I started watching football, even when I got into it, I didn't really know the extent of how much that matters, and how does it change the game, or how does it add value to the game, or to the players as they're going on the pitch. And when I saw that episode with him, the photographer speaking, the photographer was emotional, man. Like, he was almost in tears for his love about this club. And
clearly a very big moment for him. But what do you think that did to the players? Because ultimately that's what Arteta cares about, right? What any manager would care about.
Yeah, I guess that the club I think the players know how much support and love there is for Arsenal as a club. I think they see it all around as fans, and I'm sure they hear from fans all day long, and I'm sure they have plenty of it. But I think to have their photographer or somebody who's been working with the club on the sidelines speak with an equal, like, let's say, skin in the game, or have somebody so up close and personal right before a game going out, talking as if it directly impacts their life. I think that's what riled the players up, or made them feel a certain way before the match that day. And I think they went on to win that.
So that was the North London derby, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason Arteta pulled the photographer and said, I want him to speak, is because he has a very unique position. He's kind of literally a fly on the wall. He's literally a fly on the wall. But more importantly, he's also a diehard local. Like, he's a local fan. So he lives and breathes Arsenal, who is probably his family has for generations or whatever. So, it was to remind the players of what the North London derby specifically meant to the people of London there. At the end of the day, I think that moment, which was a manager or a person bearing his soul to everybody else, and everybody else kind of being in the space where they could take that and be amplified by that, is very telling of how you also fell in love with the game, or started to fall in love with football and Arsenal, because essentially you saw Arteta, you saw this man also bearing his soul. You see me bare my soul,
Yeah.
to the boys, to the lads, and to the coaches and stuff. And the idea is that people get hit with that wave of like, shit, I've been in that position. I know that feeling. I'm in the same fight as you. So.
And usually I've seen fans that I can now relate to, or I can speak to about the game as much as I can. I think they're all in love with the players. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen a lot of people speaking about the game and then specifically about the players. I fell in love with the game through the manager. And it's very telling. And it's very telling of where it comes from, because I see a manager at home and I see what the manager goes through, and I think
I'm sure he goes through like 1000x at least what I go through.
No, of course. I'm at the level.
But yeah, we're trying to replicate that high performance environment. I understand what you're saying.
So I found myself to look at the game not as, oh, this one player is sick or these 2-3 players are sick. I think slowly falling in love with the tactical strategy of these games with your coaching staff. Whenever they are over, whenever we are chatting, I think I've picked up on the nuances of how you all play the game and not as much as how the players play the game. For me, this is a very organic conversation that happens every day in our house. Not this exact one. This is to give everybody else a lot of context. But there's a lot of question answer. There's a lot of curiosity about his plays, his strategy, his tactics.
My tactics,
Your tactics, the way you see the game. I guess I just want to know a lot more because I've missed so much context of the past. You're an Arsenal fan since you were like 7 years old.
Something
maybe.
like that, yeah.
And I got into it when I was 30, So for me, I've missed a lot of context. I have a lot of questions which I ask you during games. I ask you as we are, making our fantasy teams or when we are analyzing players. And I want to, let's say, give myself a challenge that by next year, when we start the league again next year, that I have a very strong opinion, which is my own, which is not, let's say, influenced by what you're saying. Not influenced by what you're saying, or I'm not blindly just following what you're suggesting, but I am able to say, okay, these are my predictions. This is how I think they should play. And this is the outcome that will happen. And perhaps even maybe, have a very, probably even beat you at fantasy.
I mean, I'm not like amazing. You can. And you hit 100 pointer this season, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, but I hit 100 pointer because I took I'm still not confident.
Yeah. You're just listen. So fantasy, Premier League, and in general, like you said, you want to be able to make predictions and all. Now you need to have some knowledge of other teams also. Like the thing is with Man City. Like I get riled up when they're a bit irritating to play against.
The thing about City though is that it's they're so good.
Exactly.
That you can't hate them.
They're so complete.
And they play, and I don't think any of the players on the team come across as, like assholes.
No, but they come across as like Haaland comes across as a robot that can evoke a feeling of, dude, it's so unfair to play against this guy. Or like even like some of their players are just so elite, right? Like this Rodri guy in midfield is just like, you're like, how do you play against these guys? De Bruyne is just inside a lot of irritation. That like, dude, what do you do?
I think it's irritation. It's irritation that, right? Oh my God, why are you so good? And how have you all, I mean, we know how, there's a lot of money, of course. But I think it's very tough to hate City. And I remember I told you that I hate Haaland when I started watching him last year. And I thought he was like, oh, this giant, like, must be a really nasty, must be a really nasty guy. And obviously now that I've seen him in his post-match interviews and I've seen the skill set, it's very difficult to hate him. He's
just a good guy.
He's a good guy, and he's he's really good guy, and he's sick, dude. Like there's no stopping the ball when it comes to him. Like I think a lot of people, like a lot of teams that play City at this point are just trying to, like, their strategies ensuring the ball doesn't go to Haaland.
Yeah,
absolutely. in the last,
absolutely, just cut off supply to
just
him,
cut off supply to Haaland,
or reduce the space that he has to play into, and that should be enough. And it's something that Arsenal did really well when we played against them and beat them as well. So the community shield.
The community shield.
We don't count that.
Okay. I'm not saying it was the ultimate win, and I know that Arsenal fans have this stamp of getting too excited and then bottling it. But I genuinely feel like the way we played them in that game has made the team a bit more confident now when we play against City. Because before this, I feel like it was this thing of, oh my God, we are going to play City. And
because that's how much, like, that's testament to where we've come from, where when you started watching Arsenal, how deep in the shitter we were.
Yeah.
And the squad itself was not what the manager wanted. They were not able to deliver in terms of how he envisioned the game. There were so many sort of cultural issues which he has gone on air to address pretty strongly in terms of his actions and words. And that's like, you're seeing us come from there. You're seeing us come from a really, really shit place to where we are now. And it's taken a lot of effort, a lot of hard decisions, a lot of setbacks and failures also, like art.
I see a lot of reaction when a manager starts effing up, right? I see a lot of sack him. But there seems to be a collective approval, like a nod of approval that Arteta has gotten. Because I'm not saying that we're the best team by any means, right? I'm not saying that today. I'm not saying, because I can now see other teams and how they're playing and how strong they are. I'm not saying we're the best team today. But I think from where we were to where he's, put us, like where he's brought us so far in the few years that he's had, I think that's bought him a lot of confidence and a lot of approval from fans specifically. Now. First 2 years. They were screaming for his head. Yeah, first 2 years, like I said, because it's a reaction, right? Yeah. Like the reaction happens with all teams, I think. No, I don't want to jinx Arsenal, or I don't want to see them lose ever. But I guess what it honestly also means to be an Arsenal fan for the OG Arsenal fans is to stick through and really push through for their team. And I read this meme about marry or be with an Arsenal fan because they're the most loyal bunch you'll find.
I'm glad you read it like 8 years after being with me, 7 years after being with me.
Yeah, because they've really seen the team through a lot of shit, and they've come out the other side. And look, I'm honestly
not fully yet. I genuinely have thoughts where I'm like,
it could all go to shit.
No, that's fine. That doesn't worry me. The thought that genuinely I had, or like I literally had in this morning, I was like, will I ever see Arsenal win the Premier League? Like, no matter how
Premier League, not like the treble, because the Premier League seems like
I said treble is like once in a generation kind of thing. It's not a thing that like, you can hope for. No, Arsenal not hoping for treble. Our hopes are, finishing second last year was amazing. If we get to the semi-finals of the Champions League this year, I'll be like, wow, that's my hope. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not even hoping for trophies. I'll be happy even if we don't win the trophies. I'll still be an Arsenal fan even if we don't win the trophies. We're hung up on winning the right way. It's more about the right way. It's about, building something. These are the bullshit intangibles that unfortunately you've absorbed by virtue of being with me. I'm very sorry.
My opinion here is that I do believe in winning trophies. I think winning trophies is... I also like to win. I believe in winning trophies, yes. And I want Arsenal to win trophies. And I think if I could be wrong, but I think that Arteta also believes in winning trophies. 100%. I can see it. I can see 100%. It in him. I can see it in him. Every goal conceded, every time the players, mess up and do something that they're not supposed to do, or have like silly errors on the pitch, something they've gone over 100 times, I'm sure. he gets really riled up. And he gets really...
That's his thing.
You know what
Are you saying that he gets riled up because he's just it comes from an obsession with winning? I don't think so. I think it comes from an obsession of perfecting the craft and mastering the process. Right?
I agree with it, because I think he's also I think he's doing it systematically. I think the change he's bringing in the team, I think what he's trying to do will take some time.
Correct.
So I think he is, I'm not saying he's obsessed with winning trophies, but I think for him it is important. 100%. I think his eye is on the prize. And every time he gets frustrated, it's not because, oh, we're going to lose. It's because I think he expects, like, his standard and his expectation from the players is so high that he's disappointed for if it's anything less. And I think that's the winning formula, right? Like, to set the bar so high.
So if you go to him and ask, like, if he had gone to him at the beginning of the season and been like, hey, Mikhail, like, do you think you're going to win a trophy this year? And like, I genuinely think he could very well be within his rights to say, no, I don't think so. We're not there yet. We're not that level of a club yet.
No, I think it's a fair assumption.
Absolutely fair.
It's a fair assumption to make that he would not say that. But I think...
No, I think he would say that.
No, I'm saying it's a fair assumption to say that he believes that winning the trophy is not where we are at. But I think it's also a personal thing where you maybe don't call out, like, your dream so much, and you don't jinx it, and you don't say it, and you don't want to come across as like you don't want to overpromise and exactly. But I genuinely believe that his eyes on the prize, and I think that's why I related to him. Because if I'm being very honest, if it was just the passion, if it was just the love for the game, if it was just the way that you play it, if it was the art of football that was the goal of this club, I don't know if I as a person, me as a personality, would attach myself to it the way that I have.
Yeah, you'd much rather just go for a Man City or something, you know?
I would much rather. It's so easy for me to become a City fan, because if I have the option of being a fan today, and it's still pretty open for me, right? In the sense that I'm still absorbing, I'm still learning. It would be so easy for me to support City. But I think what Arsenal stands for, the way they play the game, and what I've learned of it, and I think I've learned about Arsenal so far the most compared to other teams. So I want to feel both that the art of it and the beautiful game, but also this winning thing of let's go get some.
So City has that. No? City has the beautiful game plus the winning.
Yeah, but I don't know.
What stops you?
No, I think what stops me is just, I guess I don't know enough about City, and I've not.
Mikhail is better looking than Pep.
No, I think first of all, I think they're equally.
You think Pep is good looking too?
Yeah, he's got zaddy. He's got zaddy vibes.
What's that?
Like a sexy daddy vibes.
Is that
it's a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he definitely, like, no, it's nothing to do with how the managers look. The managers look great, and if you support Arsenal, and we love Arsenal, and we love Arteta. I mean, at least for me, that's true. I love Arteta. I'm not as married to the players, not all of them at least. I have obviously my favorites. But I can't discount the fact that I've come into the game because of them. And that I genuinely...
So you've literally said the thing that I feel like every football fan always says. And that's the most beautiful thing about it. You don't need necessarily a reason to follow a club or their values match by that. No one needs this. You built some core memories. That's it. That's why you support the game. Like, hey,
my memories are basically Arsenal having a great season.
Yes, essentially. And like, the vibes in this house being built in.
Yeah.
And, like...
Okay, and this is a thing, by the way. Everyone can relate to it, I'm sure. Like football men for sure, but I don't know any partners and wives and wags out there. It does matter whether the team plays well, doesn't play well, who we are playing against, and how we performed against them. What was the outcome of the game? Obviously, I think it changes the environment in the house for sure. But in this house, it's a little more. It's a little bit more heightened because it also coincides with his season and how his team is playing, and that is very personal. Like that, it's one thing to like watch Arsenal play and watch the Premier League and watch the Champions League, but it's a completely different thing to see his team not doing well or doing well, it impacts him, and the mental the load that it takes on all of us in this house, including our dog, is a lot. And maybe Siddharth manages a team in the super division in Bangalore. It's called Students Union FC. And Siddharth's been coaching them and managing them for about 2 years. I call him the CEO of that, CEO / manager of that club, because I see him clocking in an easy like 16, 17 hours a day, not just on the pitch, but everything else that comes after and before, which is transfers and scouting and physio and nutrition and obviously the mental health of the players, and driving them to be what they can be on the pitch, what they're required to be, not just physically but also mentally. So I think you really encompass every role. You do have support, obviously. Siddharth has a really fun support staff in his friends and colleagues that he's had over the last couple of years in the various clubs he's worked with, right? You have the context of a little bit of context of what it's like to coach players outside of the country. Is it that players in India, because we've not really put them yet, or at least at a super division level or an I-League level, players are not really put on the kind of pedestal that players outside of this country are, because this game is more evolved outside of the country. Is it that the kind of coaching they need or the kind of push that they need is very different, and it's not as cerebral as it is physical?
So this is what the big learning is, that I think maybe the way in which I describe the game, the way in which I describe things that I want done in terms of play, in terms of team performance, maybe it's not maybe it is not being understood. It's too much information. It's too much of a tactical demand. It's to do with the fact that these players have not been taught how to learn well. They've not been taught the game in a very learning centric way. So their ability to take on more information is low, but their ability to just get down to it and do it is high.
I think it's really interesting because on one side of this game, there is so much data that you guys have about the players. Let's say their physical strengths, their skill sets, what are they good at, what are they not. And then you also have data of the teams that you're playing, right? And the players that they have and what they are like and who's good at what and where do they play the best and all of that. But there is also such a large part of human entropy that's added to it. So like the variable you're talking about, right? Like there are so many variables because these are human beings. You can't program them to just do one thing or two things. Their mentality, their the mindset,
their life experiences,
it matters so much. And I think that's what makes this game so interesting. And I guess as a coach or as a manager, it makes your job definitely harder because you're also kind of like, so I see Siddharth on the phone with his players one-on-one, talking to one player for hours if that conversation needs to happen, just about how they're feeling. I have to do that because how they come into the game or how they come into training the next day is so important. The mindset is so important, and it's a everyday thing. It's every day they have to do this. So when I see it, sometimes obviously, man, I'm human, so I get frustrated. I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of talking. And it's also fun to see it because it's a lot of talking between men, and it's about a lot of, I guess, like heart stuff. It's a lot of emotionally challenging stuff.
I think I reserve that for the people who I have that relationship with. Like I don't do it with other players. In fact, there are definitely cases, especially this season, where I couldn't do that with everybody. And I couldn't means like I was right not to do it because I tried to do it and failed, and that led to like negative consequences.
So that's what I'm saying. I think the human entropy part is so valid because some people need it and some people definitely don't need it.
Yeah.
But the people
And
who
you have
need
to
it,
know that. You have
Yeah.
to know instinctively like who needs it, who doesn't. I by virtue of having run the club, through and through, every day, all daily matters, from pre-season to end of season. I know so much more.
Yeah.
And
It's like you know how to, if I'm being honest, like I feel like you almost know how to run a company.
Yeah.
It's like the company here is a football
It's
club.
the same thing. Yeah.
But you've done every aspect of the job.
Yeah, I've dabbled and I've not, and like this is the thing, like is so good for my growth also to know, okay, this is where I'm pretty poor at, or this is where I don't have enough,
And this is where you probably need to ask for help next year.
Yeah, man. One of the most crazy jobs, one of the most interesting jobs out there, I'd say. It's also like one of those jobs where literally, like, whatever happens, like if things are going to shit, you feel like shit. If things are going bad, you feel. If things are great, you feel fucking fantastic.
And there's no
You're just kind of subject. No, that's what it is. So the more experienced managers, they're able to detach.
No, I really try to find. So I don't know if I believe that, because I was seeing this one video where Arteta's wife is speaking to a couple of people who I think in their house, and she's being interviewed, and she just rolls her eyes every time a question is asked about what they do to spend time together, or like what's going on in free time. There's nothing. She's like, there's no free time. She's like, when he's not in season, he's figuring out how to do better in the next season, and he's always on the phone. Always on the phone, always watching, analyzing games, constantly on. It's never off. And so she plays the role of just being like, I'm here for you, and I'll take care of some of the other stuff that you can't, because you're so involved. And it's tough, man, because I'm not a homemaker. I just recently had a very demanding job that I've been in for the last 4 years, and I am very equally passionate about like working and what success means to me and what my ambitions are and all of that. So it does become difficult to support you as you're going through these motions as a manager and a coach. But I think the fun side of it is what following the game is. I think that's what makes me understand it more.
Yeah, exactly. And following the game without this thing of like, like your life is on the line. Like, that's I'm glad that
Premier League this weekend, and we are yet to set our fantasy teams.
Yeah.
And I've not done that.
I dropped massively in rank. Not very happy about it.
For me, there's no way but up, because this is my first year.
If you crack the top 5, if you crack the top, I don't even know, top 600,000 in the world. No,
there's no chance that so first of all,
it's very doable. It's very
no, but see, I'll tell you what. I joined I joined fantasy. I think even this season I was a bit late. I think I missed the first week. I only joined first 2 weeks. I missed. That already set me way back.
50 points.
Yeah. So there's no chance that I'm going to make anything. But I think this year for me is just understanding what is the right strategy for me.
Yeah, just see other games and teams, and
it's overwhelming, man.
Understand the tools that people use to make certain decisions.
It's really overwhelming, because I think every Friday is now sitting down to watch maybe a couple of YouTubers who talk about fantasy.
Yeah, that's a good tool.
Yeah, I do that because I can't. I want to watch the content. I don't really want to read articles about.
No. That even I don't have the bloody.
Because there's so many.
I feel like you're just dedicating too much. Like if that was our full-time job, it's like too much.
It's too much, and I think this time for me it's all about getting a sense of the point system. It's a sense of find out some individuals. Yeah, find out some individuals. Like play well on fantasy. But you know what I'll say it has done? It has really suddenly increased my knowledge about individual players from other teams and lesser known players that otherwise would not even come up in conversation with you. Yeah. Right? Like seeing them, understanding, let's say the data of how you select. Let's say like on what data points are you basing your decision on for selecting certain players, taking some players out. And I think this week, for me, I want to keep this as a challenge to myself, that I want to make all the transfers myself without your input in it. I want to see what that. I took Haaland out because of him. Okay, I'm just saying that effed me up badly. As somebody who joined 2 weeks late, I should not have taken Haaland out. Bro, he killed in the last 2 weeks.
No,
he's
he's
killed.
not killed. And
Killed more than any of the players on my team, na?
no, because ultimately not having him allowed you to have 4 or 5 others, and you look at that.
Yeah, but those 1 second. I'm actually at this point going to bring out my team, and I have to, because okay.
Listen, you pulled out Haaland because
listen to me.
You pulling out Haaland allowed you to own Saka, Salah, and Son and Trippier.
Yeah, but
with
Son,
Haaland there, no chance you can afford all of
yeah,
this.
but then okay, so then I agreed with you on this.
Yeah.
I agreed that okay, taking Haaland out will bring me Saka, Salah, Son, but then Son, what the hell has he been doing?
He banged in goals, and then when
Tottenham has lost 3 games.
Yeah,
last 3 games they have lost.
That's the problem. But listen.
Since I've had him, he's given me 1 good week.
No.
He's given me 1 good week.
You've not had Haaland for way longer than 3 weeks. I assure you of that.
No, I've not. Yes. I've only not had him for the last 3 weeks.
No, that's not true.
There was
I've not had. We've had him at the same time.
No, there were also 2 international breaks in between.
Yes.
So I'm saying I have not, for the last 3 game weeks, I have not had Haaland.
No, we've not had Haaland for much longer than that. It's been closer to 5 or 6 game weeks, because I know that I did the same thing. And trust me,
I did
the number of times Haaland has blanked in those 5 or 6. Blank means he's not.
He has
been way better, and suddenly, you know what the value of that is? That you end up performing better than 90% of the game, because 90% of the people
have Haaland. I get it.
And he's worth 14 million. No, so see, this is what it is. A good game week in some weeks is a bad team in other game weeks. It's inevitable. And now you're seeing that, like, Diaby's not giving you much. Cash is not giving you much. And those are pretty much the only problems you have in your squad. Now, if you want to pick,
also, I mean, I'm sorry,
you want to drop the Alvarez.
No, but also see their fixtures now. Like Aston Villa is playing City and Arsenal in the next 2 weeks. So we definitely
they're playing Bournemouth next week.
No, they're playing Bournemouth this week.
So you want to keep them for the Bournemouth game
and transfer them out after.
Yeah, because they'll smash Bournemouth. Yeah. They'll get good points against Bournemouth, right? So there also it's tricky. It's not so easy, right? Like that you just he's shite.
And also I'm so sick of, like, I've also just been like, I've had to replace players just because they are getting injured. Is it just me, or are there way too many people getting injured this season?
There are a lot of people getting injured this season.
Because it seems like
and suspended and stuff. There's a lot of people.
I think that that's really messed up my transfer.
Yes, I can imagine.
And
I'll just say
I can't afford to take a -2. I can't.
No, you can. If you have nothing to lose, you should be doing as much experiments as possible.
That's true.
And honestly, like for you, I'll just say, like, don't worry about tanking. Even if you come up with the lowest scores every week, it doesn't matter. The challenge is in Fantasy Premier League is not about any of that. You will automatically finish in the top half of all individuals playing this game if you are able to maintain consistency throughout the end of the season.
So do people
half the people drop playing. Yeah, more, like not half. It's a huge exaggeration, but a huge chunk of people stop playing the game. They just don't care anymore.
And one more thing that's really bugging is that when you have players on your fantasy team,
when they play for like United.
I mean, that's okay if they play for other teams, but when that team plays against your team in the actual game and you want the points but you don't want to lose, that's been really frustrating, because
you're discovering all the right football problems. I'm so proud of you.
I have football problems. That's where we're at. I have football problems.
I feel like we had fun. Did you have fun?
I had fun.
Yeah, good. So we just get some football chat out there, get it out of our system. You want to talk about the upcoming game? We'll just have a nice chat about it. Let's beef up your knowledge about other teams in the meantime, and let's make you a elitist fan. That would be my target for the end of the season. That's what.
So I love it because I have my own target and he has a target for me. So there's no way I'm getting.
I want you to be like snooty fan, like I don't rate your opinions, Manchester United fans, like that. I want you to have that kind of air about you. That's what'll be nice.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. Lovely meeting you.
That's my line.
Okay, fine.
Thanks for listening in, if anyone is, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye. Good job.
Yabba dabble deal double double deal daddle deal doodle double 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 do.